Hey everybody, it's Lyn from Lyn's Crafts. I've got a combination requested tutorial. I'm going to try to put them both together because I can. It'll be relevant, hopefully. I've got some Primo, I believe this is the transparent frost, I think is what I have left. And whoa, I need to order some. And then I've got grit on my paper. Then I've got two colors I have never worked with. This is the, it's just called red translucent. And then this is red glitter. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to condition this a little bit and roll it out on my thinnest setting on my pasta machine, or really thin with your roller, whatever you roll clay out with. I've said this before. I know there are people that use a jar or a non-tapered glass or something like that. I wouldn't suggest a rolling pin because clay will stick to the wood unless you have a plastic one. Alright, so I'm going to roll that out and then I'll be right back. Okay, I'm going to apologize for the lack of continuity in this video. The entire middle portion of the video, of course, don't you know, got stuck on my camera and I could not get it off. So since I don't really need any more beads of the same color, what you'll see from here in this little middle bit will be just a little bit different. The beads at the end, the beads in the heart, are the glitter, the red glitter, and the red transparent. This mix right here, which I've made probably half of what I made before, has some of the white glitter. That's what it's called. Frost white glitter in the mix also, and I've already chopped them up. So I apologize. You would have gotten to see all of that loveliness otherwise. And so this is going to have quite a bit more color in it also. But hopefully the end two bits of the video are still intact, so you'll wind up seeing part of one and part of the other. The heart part will be in the original mix, plus I do a couple of the beads in the original mix that I made up. So really the only part you missed out on is this part right here, me mixing up the roll of clay and rolling the first bead. Oh, and showing you how I make them all basically the same size. So there we go, we've got that. The first bit I added just a bit of glitter to. So I've got my, this is called Poly Sparkle, came from Michael's, and I apologize, my battery's fixing to die, so if it does, hopefully we won't miss this bit. I'm gonna put a pause though. Alright, so I've got my mix, I've got my glitter on, and now as usual, if you want to see a full tutorial on this particular technique, they're in my polymer clay playlist, and it's called rolled inclusion bead, and there's several different videos with a similar heading, and there's also one called a 3-ingredient cabochon, which is very similar. Excuse me. Alright. It's not near as fun to do the video when you're annoyed. It's funner the first time. Just kidding. Alright, here we go. I've just got those chopped up and rolled into this color. Very unattractive at this point. But we're going to squish it together, try to get some of the air out of there, because of course, yes, it's going to trap a bit of air. And then I'm going to twist. That's how I get that lovely spiral pattern to the beads. Twist. And as you'll see, I've got area down on both ends that doesn't have a lot of color. So what I'm going to do is even this out a bit. If I can pick up my blade, cut it in half, and then I'm going to put them opposing each other, the opposing cut ends, mash them together a bit, and then twist. Alright, now it's much more evenly distributed up and down, although it won't be perfect. But hey, who wants perfect? So, even out the thickness a little bit and flatten the ends down so I'll have a snake that'll be even and not thinner on the ends. And I'm working on the wrong side of my paper. I worked on the clean side the first time. I've just got my acrylic roller. It helps roll a little truer snake. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll this snake out to the thickness approximately that I want my beads. Alright, and then turn my paper here. As you can see, I've marked me out some hash marks, some 1/2 inch hash marks, and what I'll do is usually I'll just have my ruler laying beside it and do it that way. But the best advice I can give when you're cutting your beads is to cut them the same length, and that's why I've got the marks. Now what I really would do, and I said this in the first copy, is I would want to be right directly over this roll when I'm cutting. But because I'm right now about 8 inches back, I will in no way be right over it. But still, I'm going to try. No, not too bad. And if you get these slices even enough, your beads will be pretty even. Now, if you were doing a different type of bead, and what some people do is they'll get a circle. Okay. Exhausted by a video should be the title. 1, 2, 3. I'm going to cut one more. Alright. Now, if I was directly over these, as you'll see, they are just basically exactly the same size. Now, because they're the same size, and because we made the roll basically the same diameter all the way up and down, these almost can't help but being the same size beads when you roll them. And here's what I do to roll them. Now, I may have said this before, and I may have said this after the missing bit, so keep in mind this is take 2 of the missing bit. The reason I don't have a bead roller excuse me, is because I don't do strands of beads. In other words, I'm not making production level beads. I don't need 20 of the same size bead. Usually 6, 8 is the maximum I'll make, and usually that is 2 or 4 for a pair of earrings, and the other half for the pendant. So you've always got the option of, if part of your beads don't look the same, the smaller, the larger, whatever can go on the earrings. So in other words, they won't be right next to each other. You won't notice as much that they're not exactly the same. Okay, so what I do is I don't want these cut ends to show on my beads. So I'm going to pull and pinch at the same time and close off these ends. Like that. And I'm going to do the same thing on the other end. Alright, closed off. And another thing you can do is enhance that spiral effect of the bead there and just twist just the least little bit more. Alright, and then we're going to squish it down into a rounder shape and not so pointed. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my hands flat, not cupped, flat. You want the palms of your hands to be nice and taut. The more cupped your hands are, the more of an oval shape you'll get, which can be, you know, if you're making oval beads. So there we go. Now what I'll do is I'll let these beads rest just the least little bit because this clay is quite soft. And you'll probably hear me say that for about the next, I don't know, usually till sometime mid-October. Some years it can be later than that, just because it'll be warm in my studio. Hopefully hubby will get the air conditioner in the window relatively soon. And then I'll be in here with my jacket on, freezing, but my clay will be happy. Now, as you can see, because I was not able to cut with me looking right down on it, these are a little different size. And that's what I was talking about. I would take the smaller or the larger of the whatever. I usually wind up having one or two that's different size. At least to my eye. Trust me, it won't always be perceptible to somebody else. We all critique ourselves, usually to a point that other people don't even notice. You know yourself, you'll go back and change something because it drives you insane, when most people wouldn't even have noticed it. So there we go. As you can see, these two are just about dead on the same size. Alright, and I'll probably go on in the rest of the video to do at least one more bead, so I apologize, but you've got to see it several times. So there we go. And there we go. I had just not put quite as much pressure on that first bead as I did the other three. So there we go. I'll let those rest, and then I'll use my big old hat pin to put a hole. Let me see if one of them's firm enough, because I didn't show this the first time. What I usually will do is I'll pick a point where my pinched ends were, where the spirals come together, and that's where I'll put my hole. And as I'm turning the bead just a little bit, I'll alternate that with twisting the needle. And if it starts to come out where you don't want it, back off and move it a little bit. Alright, so there we go. It's basically through the center. I'm going to roll the bead between the groove of my fingers right here and put just a little bit of pressure. Get back in there. And usually what I'll do is I'll do it until the bead will spin. And usually that'll help me know whether I've got the hat pin in the center of the bead or not. but because these have not rested, as you can see, it's made a pretty big hole. And then you'll just check your bead and make sure it's still round. Putting the hole in when it's too soft will distort the bead just a little bit. So there we go. I will put the hole in these and then bake them for usually about 20 minutes on these smaller beads. So 275 is what it recommends. For 30 minutes per 1/4 inch of thickness on the Primo accents. So I guess I'll bump up my baking time just a little bit. So alright, on to the next bit. Sorry about the confusion, and you'll notice that the roll will look a little different in the rest of the video. Alright, in my hand. That's how I do it. And then I'll let these rest a little bit before I go to ream the hole. I'll show that little pinching again. Just pinch the ends towards the center. Just lightly. You don't want to pinch it too hard. And I'm kind of pulling and pinching at the same time. And of course you can make oval beads the same way. The more you cup your hand when you're rolling, the more of an elongated bead you can get. But I'm going for round beads, obviously. So there we go. I won't do all these, but I'll do one more for you. Pinch and pull, pinch and pull, pinch and pull. Now at this point you can even go a little further by giving the bead just a little more of a twist. And you'll see that little spiral start to develop. Then I'll kind of mash it into a round shape before I go to roll it anyway. Roll, roll, roll. Sorry for the camera wiggle. Now, as you can see, because I was not directly over my marks here, or my ruler, that's what I would do if I was doing it off camera, is I would have my ruler and be slicing against the ruler there. But as you can see, since I wasn't directly over, this bead is a bit smaller. But for my what I'm doing, I would use these two probably for earrings, and in other words, I would pick and choose which beads were the closer to the correct size. But if I was directly over it, they would have been closer, because all of my pieces would have been closer to the same. But doing it, I'm almost a foot back from where I'm cutting, so I'm at quite an angle to the roll. It's not really a cane, but I am in no way directly over the roll so that I can see what I'm doing. Alright, for the heart, it's going to be kind of the same thing, except for in this case I'm going to twist again. Just for the why not. Swoosh that down just a bit, and then I'm going to roll. I don't want to bump the camera, I'm sorry. Alright. Now, I've got a big ball. Now, while I'm looking at this the way I am, I want to decide, I probably want this and this to be my two faces of the heart. But let's look. That's interesting right there, though. Oh, but I really like that. Let's see what the opposite of that is. Yeah, we'll go with that. I'm going to go with this right here. Alright. Now, this, I'm going to let this be the bottom. So I'm going to start to pinch towards a little bit of a point right there, because that's what I want to be the bottom of my heart. Alright. Now you can do this to make asymmetrical top hearts, symmetrical top hearts, fat, round, tall, skinny. Alright, I've got a little over-exaggerated point. Now, I'm going to flatten just to the thickness that I want my heart. Taper the sides down just a little bit to give it that nice puffy heart feel. Alright, and then take your tool of choice. Could be a paintbrush, and decide on you a center. And then I'm going to take my, not a good tool choice, I'm so sorry. I'm going to take my tool and I'm going to start to make an indent. I've got my indent off just a bit. Alright, as you can see. And then let me get a different tool. I've just got my clay shaper. I'm going to draw that in, flip it over and do the same thing. I'm going to draw that little crease down into the heart. Alright, and then you've got some little bit, let me get my beads out of the way here. Should have flipped my paper back over also. You've got these little bit of pointed little tops to your heart, and it's a little thicker. So I'm going to flatten it out just a little bit more and flatten down those little peaks. And then go back with my tool one more time and deepen the little valley. I was trying really hard there. So there we go. Again, I will let this rest and then decide how I want to do the hole. Whether you're going to do a hole vertically, you can do a hole horizontally, or you can even do one at an angle so that the heart will dangle at an angle. So there we go. I know it's a short, simple video today, but I've had several requests. And again, when you're cutting your roll, be directly over your bit of roll when you're going to slice, so that your blade will come down right on your mark. I was doing 1/2 inch beads this time, and a 1/2 inch bead, if you have your roll at about 1/2 inch, will come out. This is about a 12 millimeter bead. So, and that was the smaller of the three. So these are probably what, 15s? No. They're really literally less than a millimeter different. So There we go. That is the way I roll beads. They usually come out pretty even. Maybe not. Well, they're not bad. And for the person that asked how do I sculpt a heart, that's how I do it. I just start with a ball, pinch the bottom, flatten it out, and then roll down my little valley. Alright, that's what I've got for today. I really do have a lot more coming up. It's just getting it all together. So, I've been asked to show how I make molds. I do have a video further back on how I make my molds. Could I tell you what the name of it is right now? No. So I will probably cover that just on a simple little mold. So, alright, that's it for today. I shall holler at you.